What's up, everybody? You are now wait. What's up, everybody? You are now tuned in to StarCHaser Central, a podcast about Charles Hampton music moments and everything in between. I'm Sick Braxton.
And I'm fucking blinded by that light. I'm also Mike D. Jackson.
And today we are going to celebrate our Podaversary, man. 1 year in the game. StarChaser Central has made it, bro. How are we feeling?
Number one, not to toot our own horns, but congratulations to us. I think it's dope because I know we made the joke, or I've made the joke at least about, oh, we're going to get shut down within like a couple months, or yeah, we're going to fight, or Charles is going to be like, yeah, I'm done with this. I want y'all to, I don't want this anymore. But no, complete opposite. We've been able to maneuver well. We've been able to bank off each other for ideas and just energy. Charles has been loving the project, the podcast, always making sure that he tells us that he appreciates it, so it's been a win on all sides, all angles. I'm happy, man. I can't words cannot express sometimes how I feel. What about yourself?
Yeah, man. I actually came with some stats just to actually toot our own horn. Um, on YouTube. As you know, as of today, we had 221 subscribers, which is I think is really dope. Um, Total views on videos or episodes that we've done, 4,101. If you include the shorts that Mike graciously does every week, that number climbs to 44,991. Then if you just talk about only audio stuff, we have had 931 total downloads. And then if you talk about as far as just watch hours for us, 875 watch hours. That means people took the time for some odd reason to watch both our faces and talk about this stuff, which is nuts. Um, 63% of our viewers are subscribed to us. You know, that other 37%, maybe y'all should change that. But
Wait,
that's
wait,
okay.
let me do the thing that they normally do. We've never done this, whatever, but
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
hey, for you, you said 37,
Yeah, about 37%.
about 37%. Hey guys, if you like the music moments and everything in between, it would help us out and help you out graciously if you hit the subscribe button. I don't know. I always see it in YouTube videos. So I was like, let me try it out. So
Um, and then this is one of my favorites is just like the countries that we've hit. So obviously, United States is going to be our biggest one, right? That's to be accepted, right? But we've hit UK, Canada, Germany, Australia, Brazil, South Africa, Mexico, Russia, Indonesia, Belgium, Spain, um, a lot of different places, man. Shout out to the cities that did a lot of our damage. Dallas, New York, Boardman, I believe it's called, Bronx, LA, San Antonio, which is really weird to me. Washington, Philly, some more in between. And shout out to Brussels, man. Brussels has a high number of downloads for some reason too, which is kind of wild. So yeah, shout out to everybody who's taking the time to listen to the pod, man. We really appreciate it for sure.
most definitely, it's one of those things where I remember talking to Charles recently, and he, even before any of those stats you named, he did tell me like a lot of people outside of the United States do listen to him a lot. So, when he's always talked about going to London and all that, and like he has crossed a lot of barriers, and I think we just don't see it because we're always just used to what we're around and the
Mhm.
people that have heard him in the past, and the music game is just different. Like even mainstream artists talk about that. They say, "Oh yeah, when I'm here in the United States, the fans are cool, but the people over here, over there, they're always die hard. They always show love. They always show support because they don't normally get to see or hear from us as much, or the artists as much. So they have to go twice as hard, three times as hard sometimes. So
Yeah.
just even the first that you said is like 4,000. That it like you said, all we are doing is talking about Charles Hamilton projects and his music, and I can understand if someone's like, this isn't really that entertaining. I completely understand, but the fact that there's so many people, so many hours, so much listening, downloading, like it definitely, I'm glad to be a part of this, you know what I mean? And also you guys might just think, oh, I'm just watching, commenting. subscribing, downloading, literally that is also part of it. Like we literally can't do this without you. If you guys weren't watching, you weren't listening, you weren't downloading, none of this would matter. You know what I mean? The episodes would not go across how they do, you know. So seriously, thank you guys. 220 something subscribers in a year. Of course, some people have done more, but this is a this isn't supposed to be like that big of a podcast. But the fact to have like at least 220 something, 200 something people say, yeah, I like listening to Charles Hampson and I like listening to his music and discussing his you know his career. Dope, very dope. So thank you guys again.
Yeah, man. So today, in celebration of our first episode, which for people who don't know, came out October 25th, and we started off with the great Pink Lava Lamp album. We wanted to do like a ask us anything type of situation, stuff about the pod, stuff about ourselves, just just to kind of celebrate this big moment of making it to a year without nothing going wrong. So this is kind of like a it's a break from the music, but not a break from the Charles Hamilton stuff because this is why we're here. So we wanted to share that with you guys.
Definitely. I do have the questions if you wanted me to just like go start whenever.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right. And thank you guys for, on the Discord, even on Twitter, wherever you ask the questions at, because, it definitely makes it enjoyable. And also it reassures us because of course you're here for Charles Hamilton, but at the same time, you have to look at us, listen to us for like an hour. So if we're not that enjoyable of a duo or whatever, then it's kind of just like, well, I guess I'm putting up with them for Charles. And it's like I definitely don't feel like you guys feel that way. So all right, so first question. What project made you realize you'll be following Charles forever? Is that just the natural dedication you have towards the music artist, or was Charles putting out something that made you realize this was different?
Okay. Good question. Who was that from?
Well, these first couple questions is from Sunkill Machina.
Okay. Let's see. I guess for me, it's probably definitely Sonic to Hamilton. It's probably the first one that kind of made me like, I think I'm just gonna follow the next couple of projects. You know what I'm saying? Again, like we've told this plenty of times before. Sonic to Hamilton, Pink Lava Lamp are probably the first two tapes I probably listened to likely when I finally stumbled upon Charles Hamilton music. But it was Sonic to Hamilton where I was like, oh, I think this guy is gonna do something big and he's gonna make it and he's gonna be like the next big thing. So let me follow along on his journey to see where he takes, where he takes the musical journey. And so, yeah, that's always probably what I would point to. As much as I love the Pink Lava Lamp, great, but Sonic Hams was one I was like, let's just make sure I keep tabs on this guy.
For me, you guys already know, like for me, technically it's a song that made me decide I was going to be following Charles's music and it's free download. But if we're saying project, because I remember, like I've said before, like I used to download certain songs from projects and put them all together. Like you said, Sonic the Hamilton. I remember like I had a couple songs from Sonic the Hamilton, some stuff from Staff Development, but I guess I would say not Crash Landed.
Outside looker.
Thank you. Outside Looking. I think that's the one, if I'm not counting Pink Lava Lamp, that's the one where I was like, because that's the first mixtape or project, whatever you want to call it, that I actually downloaded in full, didn't put half the tape on this, half the tape on that. And I'm like, because at least with that project, I'm like, this is a great introduction. Yeah, I'm rocking with this guy. Let me see what else. Because that's what led to me listening to Pink Lava Lamp and actually like sealed the deal for real. But it's like one of those things where sometimes you don't get to just grab for the championship belt. You have to work your way up. You have to
Yeah,
climb the ladder first before you actually get there. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
that would be mine. Next question. Charles has been around over 15 years now. Congrats to Charles for that. Was a podcast something that came from recent divisiveness or just a plan for a longer time than that? I feel like you could definitely answer this a lot more than I can, but I'll still give my 2 cents.
Oh, about when I decided that I want to do the podcast.
Basically, he basically asked, did it come from divisiveness, maybe because of like Charles's career? You know what I mean? Like not a lot going on about him at the time before we even thought about the podcast. Like basically, what made you come up with it? I guess you could say.
I think for me, I before I did the Clues Fino episode with you. I'd always thought about wanting to do kind of like a case study or like some type of perspective type of thing on Charles Hamilton. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do it. Then I got into podcasting. I was like, okay, cool. I got clues. I'm kind of comfortable with doing it. I was like, I would love to do a podcast about Charles Hamilton. I just didn't know how to do it and what I wanted to do, right? Um, and then we had the podcast together, and I was like, why not? I was like, I feel like I could probably get it done. I feel like we could do it, and if it sinks, it sinks. But at least I tried. So it really wasn't divisive, even though that was part of it. I didn't want every time you would type in Charles Hamilton, you get a couple being like, "Oh, what happened to this guy?" But then it slowly devolved into the normal stuff: punch by a girl, drop by a label, the regular shit that happens. So again, our goal was always to put a positive spin on his career anyway. So yeah, I think it's like a combination of both of those things.
So in case, you guys don't know, like this podcast is more Stick's idea than mine. Not saying that I wouldn't want to. Technically, we both had ideas that kind of just came together now. Like for example, me doing the Who Did Charles Hampton sample series on YouTube.
Mhm,
I've actually always wanted to do something like that. Like, oh man, I always want to like showcase, his samples because I've kind of done certain similar stuff like with me online. Like, yeah,
mhm,
if you guys like this song, I sampled this is how I sampled it. But I'm like, man, I would love to like just make a page of just like showcasing his samples and showing how it is.
mhm,
But for me, I'm just like, would people want to just like watch that? Just watch a whole channel of just Charles Hampton samples and whatnot. So I kind of put that on the back burner. Like Stick said, he had me on his other podcast, Clueless Vino, and then we talked about stuff that we were interested in and stuff that I like. And he just, asked me one day, like, yo, I've had this idea, how do you feel about it? And I'm like, well, me and him have both been fans of Charles Hampton for so long. It's like, at least we're not newer fans and we're not old jaded fans. We're somewhere in the that we won't be too biased and then we won't be too harsh on them. So
mhm.
it just came together and it's worked out beautifully so far. So
Yeah, that's a fact.
um next question. Were you guys big into the double XL 2009 class? Any opinions on the rest of the class? Favorite projects or collabs that Charles has part of during that time?
You want to start with this one?
Sure. For me, of course, other than Charles, the people I was into that were also part of the double XL class, I was always a bit big into Asher Roth. Wale was cool. I would listen to some of Wale stuff. Cuddy was
Mhm,
all right. I listened to some of Cuddy stuff. But for the most part, for me, Charles, Asher, B.O.B. I would listen to some of B.O.B. stuff. But like those other guys, like I said, like even just saying Wale, B.O.B., Cuddy, just like I know they were a lot bigger than Charles and people will always talk about them first before like Charles and Asher. But for me, I just like Charles just because he was unique, he was different. For Asher, same thing, unique, different. He was a white guy that rapped, but I didn't feel that he's going to be the Eminem replacement because in rap people did that a lot. Like, oh, who's the next white guy? They're going to be the next Eminem. I'm like, no, excuse me. This guy's dope on his own. And he's doing his own thing.
mhm.
And I would see Charles and Asher kind of like when you see them on screen, usually they were together sometimes. So it's like they're dope. You know what I mean? I would have loved to see a project with those two together. That
Yeah,
that would have been cool because they had stuff like definitely cooking up, but just never came to be. Even the stuff with Charles and B.O.B., that would have been cool too. But everyone in that class was dope. Even people that would clown Ace Hood, because at that time, Ace Hood, he still didn't do like he wasn't really doing the lyrical stuff. He was already getting backed by Khaled. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Um, when it comes to favorite projects and collabs Charles did part of that time, I was really cool with the song they had, B.O.B. Charles and Asher, Change Gonna Come.
Mhm.
That was a really good song. We don't always hear Charles talk about the political stuff, but it was always refreshing to hear, the young class at that time,
Yeah.
talk about important matters at that moment. So, what about you?
Uh, that time period we were in college, so like a lot of those songs were getting played anyway, right? So like, of course, I'm listening to Wale songs. He had a lot of the songs that ended up being Celsius, ended up being part of the. Oh no, I'm sorry. I wanted to shout out our sponsor, um, or your
Ladies and,
sponsor. My fault.
ladies and gentlemen, this episode has been brought to you by Fizz Free Blue Raz Lemonade, Celsius. Go get you one. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Also, it's also been sponsored by spaghetti and bologna. Go get you another one.
No, don't go get that. That shit is disgusting.
Oh, you tried it.
Hell no.
You can't knock it if you haven't tried it, man.
I know. I'm gonna do that. I think everybody should be reserved one knock it if you don't try it in their life, or at least for the year. And that's my one for the year. I'm never trying that. Yeah. So B.O.B. was fire. You know, B.O.B. had songs. Asher had, Asher had I Hate College or I Love College. So it's like, yeah, of course you're gonna like that song, right? Um, Hood. I think the only one that I wasn't like, ooh, I'm into was Corey Guns, but he ended up having the verse on with Wayne Jump. And you know what? But he also had I'm gonna get to that in a minute. Anyway, my favorite one was Blue. Because Blue actually had Blow the Heavens, which I think is one of the best albums ever created as well. To me, I feel like that and Pink Lava Lamp are like right there next to each other as far as like really quality music. Um, so yeah, I was a big fan of those guys. I wish a lot of them had more success. Besides the Wally and Currency, I feel like they both of them really hit the levels that they were supposed to and kind of stayed there versus some of the other guys. Um, as far as the collabs he's had with some of these guys, the two I think of are Paperboy with B.O.B. I've always liked that record. And God, I wish I knew what the record was called, but it's the record with Corey Guns that Charles has.
I know what you're talking about. I want to say it's like Nan Nan and Nan or something like that. I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, that's definitely the hook. That might actually be the name of the song too, as well. But I that end up on one of my burnt CDs as well. I was like, oh, this is fun. This is it going back to back, bar for bar. So I like that, like Twix. Yeah. So it was yeah. I like that.
Nice. Nice. So shout out to this question because we've talked about this before.
Hmm.
This is what makes us a real podcast and also makes us unbiased.
Hmm.
So this question has has there ever been a point where you felt like your allegiance was being challenged? Any tapes that made you go, I need to take a break?
You want me to go first, so you want to go
No,
first?
I can go first because I know that you're not ready. So I'll let you
No,
take it.
no. I told you when you first asked me the question. I was like, when I saw, I was like, no, I'm ready. I
All
know
right.
the answer to this question.
All right, SpongeBob, go ahead since you're ready.
I okay. So for me, right, there was a stretch of tapes where I was like, yeah, because you got to remember, I always say that there's a point where I was like, I would download everything, but there was a time when I downloaded something, I was like, I don't know if this isn't gonna work. And one of the first tapes was it was one of the StarCHaser radios, and I was like, hmm, the quality is a little different than what I'm used to. But I was like, you know what, that's fine. And then South of Hamilton 2 came out, and I was like, I did the comparison thing. I was like, not great. But the one that absolutely made me take a break was the Blue Lava Lamp. That was the time because from what I remember, it then was like the Blue Lava Lamp, then Reintervention, then Snap Crackle Pop, then one. And that stretch, I was like, I'm gonna take a break until I don't know when I even popped back in. I think I had to find the tape or something recognizable where I was like, okay, I can point to this and be like, this is gonna be okay. But that's probably the stretch where I was like, I need to take a break.
For me, my answer is a little bit similar but different. I will say with the first part saying where you felt like your allegiance was being challenged, right?
Mm,
So basically that stretch that you're talking about. I remember like tapes like the hardest mixtape ever, motherfuckers came out, and
hmm.
I'm just like, well, he's just freestyling. Literally, that's just him just wanting to freestyle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let that slide. But like you said, tapes like Blue Lava Lamp, one, when those tapes were coming out, I remember that's when I'm like, I feel like I'm being challenged. Like, of
Hmm.
course, some of the stuff he's doing is different. He's trying something different.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay. I definitely remember being like, okay, this isn't really what I like. I don't really like this one either. I don't like this one either. And then I remember getting to a point where I'm like, all right, bro, what's going on, man? What's
Right.
going on? Because I definitely felt like Charles was challenging us. Kind of like, this sounds toxic, right? But how some people in relationships, they'll put you through something just to see if you're going to stay, to see how solid the fan base is or whatever the situation is. And I'm like,
Hmm.
if that's what he's doing, it's messed up, but I get it. but I actually didn't take a break until like later on. And that's maybe where I might have faltered a bit because I was like I told you, I stayed between 2011, 2012, 2013.
Mhm.
So, and the rest of us that did stay, that's why I would tell y'all about how toxic StarCHaser Central on Facebook got
Yeah.
and the lounge would get because all of us stayed. All of us were like, oh, we're being tested or whatever, but don't worry, we'll keep waiting. And then it didn't get better until later on. So I can't remember exactly when I took a break, but sometime I probably should have took a break sooner. I'll
Mhm.
say that. I probably should have took a break sooner because I think that's when everyone started getting toxic and started telling Charles, yo, the music sucks. This is garbage, whatever. And I think if a lot of us just stopped listening for a while, we might not have gotten to that point. You know what I mean? Because I've never done that with any other artist. If I'm not really enjoying the music, just dip. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'll come back later. But
Right.
I can't necessarily remember when I took a break, but definitely I probably should have took one sooner. I'll say that.
Yeah, and it never got bad to the point, and we've always talked about this too. It's like we never got to the bad point where like, yo, this shit is trash, or like Charles is terrible. Look, we never got to that point, right? Where we were like trashing him. But it did get to a point where it's like, yeah, I just need to step away because this currently isn't for me. So it's like, let me just come back later, find some stuff later that maybe I like. And then, musical, taste change and like we hear something different now as we're older. So it's one of those situations, man.
Definitely, definitely. So like I said, but this is what makes this podcast what it is because some people wouldn't even answer this question. It's like, nah, bro, like I have no problem telling Charles, oh, I wasn't a fan of this or I wasn't a fan of that. You know what I mean? And also we're grown men. Before it'd be different, we're grown men now. We're in our 30s. Like, come on, man. Like, it's okay to tell someone you weren't a fan of this or you weren't a fan of that. Just be constructive. Like, hey, I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't like the home recordings, because that's
Mhm.
what a lot of issues were. So
Yeah.
all right. Last question from Sun. Any songs in particular from Charles that made you want to write after you heard them? Of course, me being the rapper, you being the writer.
Mhm.
Um, I'll answer this first. Um, actually, there's a lot, honestly, because sometimes it's like a certain beat Charles will have, and I'm like, oh man, I want to write to that. Some things he might have said that was witty. I can tell you this, it's not necessarily the same thing, but I've told Charles the story before. Um, there's a beat that he rapped on that was him and I think it was a song I think I always say it's like before I go to the store for my girl. I think it's a song I think where he sampled In Sync. I remember
Mhm.
that made me want to rap, but also not made me want to rap. I was already rapping, but that
Mhm.
made me want to start making beats. I remember at that point, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of stuff that Charles has said or wrote or freestyled on certain songs that I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta write something down to that, or I gotta do my own version. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can't even tell you just like one song. It's a bunch of them. Anything that moves me, I'm like, yeah, I've definitely had that moment happen a lot. So
The one that jumps off the top of my brain is Mistress from Growing Pains.
yeah,
Definitely made me want to do that. If you're a detective enough, you can find it. It's in my first poetry collection ever. I think it's trash now. So there's that. But at the time, I liked the idea of putting miss in front of the next word because there was so many of those you could do, mishap, all that, all that crap. And then when you're like young, you just like start throwing anything at the wall. So it's there. I hate it, but it's there. So that's the one that jumps off the mind. But like you, like, there are a bunch of songs, mainly love songs that I end up hearing, right? Where I'm like, ooh, I get the feeling that he's doing here. I would like to take that and take it a different lane or different like direction. So those are usually the ones that I gravitate to as far as writing goes.
nice, nice. All right. We got one question from Multiply Santiago.
Hey.
Um, so it's technically for us and CH. CH sees this, he can answer it at his own time. But for
Mhm.
us, what's the go-to CH song y'all play when trying to put somebody onto his music? And he said he'd be curious to see what Charles would say too. So
Oh, time to put him onto his music. Uh, that's that's the other thing that we've talked about. As far as like the podcast too, it's just like, how do you tell somebody that's never listened to Charles Hamilton music what to listen to? Because you eventually, you have to either give them a project, give them a song, and then tell them to go on their merry way, and you do the rest. But then you kind of have to warn them, like, hey, there's gonna be some stuff there that's gonna be different than whatever you're listening to now, because he has so many different like genres and eras, right? For me, I probably go to something like I do All Alone. I do I usually like Bruce Almighty, and then I do something like oh, like Shining. Shining is the other one. Shining is probably the main one I go to. Because then I can like kind of explain the backstory behind it. And then like, oh, he's such like the tortured soul type shit. And then we're like, you should just listen to the Pink Lava Lamp all the way through. And then that's how I usually go. And then I'm like, whatever you do after that, that's up to you. I got nothing to tell you about after that. If you want questions, I can answer them, but that's up to you. I got nothing after that.
Understandable. I'll be honest. If I was to have someone listen to Shining, I probably I probably wouldn't even tell. I don't want to say I wouldn't tell them. Once it became enough of a fan, I'd tell them, hey, this is what happened with the backstory
Yeah,
of Shining. But I think if people just hear it with no context, they'd be like, oh man, he's talking about no matter what, he's just going to keep shining and keep doing his thing. Not that, wait, what?
yeah,
He's going to do what
yeah.
about that? But
That is a crazy what's called way to be like, hey, listen to this song. Song's really positive and uplifting, right? By the way, it's like that's a crazy segue for sure.
that's literally like how I felt like when I was reading his blog back then, where
Hmm.
like he had the story about it. I'm like, yeah, Shining's a dope
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
Okay, so for me, a go-to song that I want to play for someone, I think I might have said this on one of the first episodes. I actually had this happen where when Charles was coming back out with New York Raining and
Mhm.
whatnot, and the girl was like, hey, this Charles Hampton guy's good. What should I listen to next? And I'm like, hmm.
Yeah,
So I've actually had this happen in real life, and I'm like,
yeah.
I always joked about like what I would say, but now I actually have to give a real answer. So I know the most obvious choice is Brooklyn Girls, right? That's the most obvious choice.
That's clearly right.
Clearly, but I'm not obvious. And so my thing is this. I like you said before, it's we have to kind of figure out, you know, I think there's a difference between a Star Chaser and a Charles Hamilton fan.
Sure.
Because I think most Charles Hamilton fans are going to just pick all the hot songs or the popular
Mhm.
songs, and then they'll be like, ah, you probably don't need to listen to nothing else. Just stick right here. You know.
Right.
For me, I'm trying to make sure people want to keep listening to them.
Hmm.
So honestly, I think because my thing eventually I would probably want them to maybe listen to his current stuff, just so if they want to get in touch with him, they're not going to be like freaked out, whatever.
Hmm.
I would probably pick something. Of course, I actually, why am I lying? The fucking cookout, bro. I'm playing the cookout. You're gonna listen to the cookout and you're gonna fucking like it.
Yo, you have you.
On a serious note, I'd
uh,
play them the cookout. I don't know if that'd be my go-to song. Honestly, I would probably pick something from Turn First Sessions because I feel like
mm,
that's something that's it's not as close to his newest music, but it's further away from his oldest music. And it's
it's right
like
in the
that.
middle.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of that halfway point where he's kind of leading into the left stuff, but not too far into the left stuff to be like, what is he talking about? You know what I mean? So
Mm.
I would probably play something from that. You know what I mean? Even something like Zombie Funk, because that's from there,
Yeah, that'd
Just
be a good one, I think.
yeah, so something like that. Something from that area, I play something like that, honestly. Of course,
Yeah,
I would play the cookout eventually because I'm like, this is like one of my favorite songs from him. But you
yeah.
know, hey man. Let me see. Oh, from East, some more questions for us.
Mm.
Uh, this is personal, not an objective list. Who are our five favorite? Oh, yeah. Who are our five personal favorite rappers or artists?
Do you want to just keep it to rappers to make it simple?
Yeah, keep it
Uh,
rappers.
do you have yours? I have mine.
Um, yeah, I'll go through mine real quick. And like I
Okay.
said, this. This is like just personal, like probably also who has influenced me the most.
Okay.
So Eminem is at the top. Um, believe it or not, Craig Mack has influenced me a lot, whatever,
You've
back in
said
the day.
that a lot though, I feel
I,
like.
for real, man. Like for real, Craig Mack. Um, DMX, definitely DMX.
Hmm.
This weekend, someone just said, "Hey, man, you kind of sound like DMX." I'm like,
Yo,
thanks.
why do people be playing with you, bro?
I'm cool with DMX, just don't say the other guy. So, but I get why the other guy too, because he's influenced me just not as much. So I
Right.
get it. Um, I'll say another one, 50. Because part of me, sometimes I want to say 50 and G Unit. So
Hmm.
I'll put them as number four all together as one
Yeah.
because they've all influenced me just as much. And fifth, man, I don't know. Cause like for real, I listened to like a lot of people back in the day, man. Like, of course, people say, "Oh, what about Biggie or Tupac?" They did, honestly, just not as much as people would think. Or Jay or Nas,
Hmm.
obviously not as much. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just gonna say four. I'm gonna just say four. There's obviously other people that have influenced me, but I'm like, to the extent of the other people I just named, eh. So I'm just gonna say four.
Would Charles not be the fifth one?
He would, but I'm not including Charles. Like I feel like that's Charles. Like we have a
Right.
whole fucking podcast about him. No shit, he's influenced us.
Fair. Fair.
Okay, so
Uh,
I'll just add Charles in there just to be like, oh, that's a five. There you go.
yeah. Uh, Obviously everybody knows Lupe Fiasco is number one for me. Um, if we add Charles, Charles is right there too. So right there. Um, Fonte from Little Brother, Isaiah Rashad, and mm, I try to think because I don't know if I want to do like all time-ish or if I just want to do just like currently. But I mean, Pac would probably be up there. Pac, K Dot, or Snoop. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Pac because I can listen to Pac all day. You know, Pac had that issue where he used to let other people on his songs, and I used to hate that shit. I used to hate that. It's like Tupac, yes, featuring the Outlaw, son of a bitch. Like, come on.
I noticed you've had the same issue somewhat with Charles doing that because Charles does that too, where Charles will be on a song and then one of his compadres that you're maybe not as fond of. You're like,
Yeah,
is Charles Tupac? Tupac's alive, bro. Tupac's alive. Just saying. Tupac is
maybe.
also Dilla. Wait, who said that?
Shut up.
Okay, next
Uh,
question. What is your favorite or best tape post Interscope? Post Interscope. So that's a little easier.
yeah. What do you think the last Interscope project is? Do we just count This Perfect Life as that?
Yeah, I'd say we just count that as like post Interscope. Because
Oh,
I'm assuming like we're counting just that and we're not counting oh it was recorded at this time so it doesn't count. Like for example, if I was to say substance abuse, it's like yeah, it was recorded during Interscope, but when was it released? You said
right. We didn't
post.
hear it till later. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't hear it till later. So
I'm stuck between. Actually, no, I'm not. I got Street Rap. Street Rap's probably my favorite post Interscope joint.
got you. Okay. Um, so for me, I was actually gonna say Street Rat and Mogul, but
Yeah.
to make it different, because technically these came out after he got dropped. I'll say uh Attempted Swag.
See, I thought about that too, but I was like, I feel like it came before, but like we just had that conversation. But that's another good one too.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like when he got dropped versus
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like that's my answer and I'm sticking to it. So,
I don't think that's a problem. I like that answer too. I like that answer a lot.
definitely. Now this one's what's your favorite song post Republic?
So favorite song,
Post
Post
Republic.
Republic.
I'm gonna just
What?
answer this right. I'm gonna answer this right now. Hopefully that I'm not wrong, but we reviewed Feel the Reaper, and I want
Yeah,
to say he wasn't on Republic at that time, but I'm just gonna use this caveat of I'm pretty sure we heard it later, so
yeah.
I made it this time, but it got dropped at this time. I'm gonna say Refined Behavior from Feel the
Okay.
Reaper.
Ooh. Shit. Uh, pick it. What year is that? So I can kind of gauge what I'm gonna pick here.
Like 16 or 17, somewhere around that time. So because here's the
Oh,
thing too. We technically really didn't know when Charles got dropped because with
yeah.
Interscope, right? Remember, there was actually Charles Hamilton dropped from Interscope, blah, 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 whatever. We
Yeah,
found
we didn't
out,
really get the same thing as before.
yeah, like Republic, we didn't really know if he got dropped when or not. And then Charles eventually was just like, yeah, so I'm not on Republic anymore. And then we kind of already knew it, but it wasn't really confirmed. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Oh, that's tough then, bro. Because then, like, once you get past like 2016, all the years just they don't blend well to me. I can never tell what came what. So I'm just gonna go with. I can't tell you the name off the top of my head right now, but Lupe. Charles has a small tape where he does songs from the Cool. Lupe's the Cool, and there's one where he does a rap over Gold Watch. I love that song. One day I would like to review that tape, but I can't tell you what the name of the song is right now, but that's the one I would choose.
gotcha. All
That
right.
tape's called Prodigal, I believe.
Gotcha. All right. So this is a two-part one. The first part, the infamous question,
Hmm.
when can we be on the pod? Star Chasers want to be on the pod, and we understand. And the second part, great work so far. Enjoyed the pod and the selection. Pleasantly surprised how many episodes so far. Thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
appreciate
yeah. So when can you guys be on the pod? Trust me, we're not trying to pump fake and not let people on the pod.
it.
I'll say this for my part of the answer. When we are ready. I mean, I want to say soon, sooner than you guys think. It's just we have to determine when we can do it because here's the process, right? If we ask you guys to be on the pod, you are going to have to be available when we record. We are on East Coast time. So if you guys aren't on East Coast, we have to figure that out.
Hmm.
And we got to get everything situated. We've had issues in the past where we've asked people, hey, we want you on the pod. We'll let you pick whatever tape we review, and then we engage with you about that tape and whatnot. And then a day or two before the episode happens, oh, I got to cancel. Oh, I got this and that. And it's like, now we're fucked. The reason why me and Stick are able to do this so well is because if we're going to cancel each other, we kind of already know ahead of time, like, hey, man, I can't do it this week or whatever. So, and then we figure it out. But some of y'all, not everybody, but some of y'all have been very unprofessional. Oh yeah, sorry, can't do it. And it's like, so now we're fucked because are we going to just review your tape without you?
Hmm.
Or are we going to try and pick a new tape? And we spent all weekend reviewing your tape. So I'm
Yeah.
not trying to blame this on y'all, but it's like, if you guys want to do this, serious inquiries, seriously. Like we can't have that because if you guys do that, you literally fuck up a whole week of an episode, possibly. So that's where we're at with it. I hope sooner than later, but whoever does want to be on the show when we start to do it, don't fuck around. I'm being dead serious. Please don't fuck around. So
Now, granted, after the first time we got fucked around, I was like, "Hey, listen, we're gonna schedule like this person's gonna be here, but then we also pick the follow-up tape just in case they don't. So sometimes we would listen to two tapes for the week in case the fuck up happened, and the fuck up happens, right? So that was a goal of ours in the first year was to try to get some guest episodes in there. But like Mike said, there were just a few instances where, and listen, life happens, bro. I'm not here to say that, oh, they fucked us over because da da da. Bro, life happens. I don't give a shit about that. It's just the timing and the way that it was done that kind of pissed me off. I'm a prompt guy. Like if you know that it's gonna be an issue, or you know that your schedule is wonky and it can go fluctuate, just tell me that. That way we know it in the first hand. Also, please don't assume that I'm on your time schedule. and that was our fault the first time, thinking somebody was on East Coast, but we didn't know. So that was I will take responsibility for that part. But once we tell you on East Coast time, you gotta adjust it. Even Charles does that shit where he'll just call us at like 10 o'clock, and I'm like, yo, bro, it's 10 over here, homie. It is 7 or 6 where you're at, and it's not helping. Like I'm about to go to bed, homie. I, I got 2 kids and I just put them both down. So like I'm trying to go to sleep. Um, but yeah, hopefully we definitely will get some guest spots in this next year coming. But yeah, just like Mike said, serious inquiries only, man. Don't play with my time.
Yeah. The thing is, we will figure it out, and also we will ask you guys again. And then when
Mm,
we ask you guys, be for sure you actually want to do it. I know, I can't remember who, but someone said that they want to be on the pod one day, but
mm.
they didn't want to show their face, and we're cool with that. You
Yep.
don't have to show your face. If you just want to do like a voice chat thing, we'll
Mm,
do that. But seriously, do not just say you want to be on there just to say it. You know what I mean? So we're going to have you guys on there sooner than later, I promise. So.
yep.
Last questions for us, and then we're going to get into the Charles questions. I did get Charles to answer some of you guys' questions, but for the last ones for us, um, I'll start with the simpler one first.
Hmm.
For us, favorite Sonic music for us. What's your favorite Sonic music? Like I guess game, you could say.
I know everybody. Oh, okay. Can we do something real quick?
Good.
On a count of three, can you say the game you're gonna choose? I just want to see if it's the same.
It's going to be
Are you sure?
okay. It might not, but
All right. I'm gonna count to three, and on three we just say it. One, two, three. Sonic 2.
Sonic 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that one's just it. I started a playlist and just put Sonic 2 music together. Like it's just amazing music. Sky Chase Zone, uh, Hilltop Zone, Green Hill. Like this, just it's all classic music. I would say underrated Sonic Adventure, the first one.
Okay. Dope. Yeah, since the question said our favorite, I have to go with Sonic 2 because um I remember before even hearing Press C, I'm like, yo, I said this before. I'm like, yo, if someone could make a beat to this and rap to it, it'd be fire.
Yep.
There's Charles. He already did it. But it said favorite. For me, if I could pick, I also want to give a shout out to Sonic 3, where allegedly Michael Jackson helped with that
Yep.
soundtrack because a lot of those songs are fire as well.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, you said favorite. So my memory and my nostalgia goes to Sonic 2 because that's what I played first, obviously, because it came out first. So
Mm.
definitely that. All right, so we got that one out the way. This basically last question that we got. Do you intend to review every CH project ever? So let me start with this. All
Hmm.
right. Short answer, no, we do not. Let me finish. So if let's say if that was, hey, yes or no question, yes or no, are you going to review everyone? No, we're not going to
Right.
review everyone.
Yeah.
When me and Stick first started this, we already realized we're like, hey, we're not doing any beat tapes. We're not going to review any of the beat tapes because that's not necessarily as fair to be like, oh, well, this beat tape is better than this regular project. So, and I think some of y'all will understand that. You'll be cool with that. And
Hmm.
then let's say if those were not counted, right? Then you'd be like, oh, well, will you review every tape that has, audio like freestyles and raps and all that? Answer still no.
Hmm.
Because once again, we talked about it before, with Catholic Illuminati, Infinite Songs, which has hundreds of songs on there. There's no way we could have one episode to review that project by itself.
Yeah.
I thought of different ways of trying to review it, being like, oh, let's do this way or that way. And I'm like, I don't think there's a real way we'd be able to like review that project. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I will give you guys a question for you guys to answer. So please answer this. Me and Stick have been talking about this because there's obviously some very short projects that me and Stick have reviewed, the ones that have only 3 or 4 songs.
Hmm.
And we've doubled up on episodes before, but there's projects like that. And then there's some very, very obscure projects that aren't on YouTube. And we don't want to make this your job where it's like, hey, upload every episode ever. But here's the idea. me and Stick decided, hey, for the YouTube shorts, would you guys like this? For certain projects that are too short or maybe very obscure, we can do short reviews on YouTube that are up to a minute long, where we say, hey, here's this project from Charles, and then we give a short, detailed review on it and then put it on the YouTube short section. If you guys would be okay with that, let us know. Say, hey, we'd be okay with like some YouTube short reviews. If you're not, then let us know, and we'll keep going about it how we do. But we're surprised we even made it to a year, let alone fucking however long we're going to last. But we're going to review as much as we can. I'll say that, right? So obviously we can't review everything. We're going to try to, but let us know, how do you guys feel about that idea? Would you like for us to try and do some YouTube short reviews where we can knock out more reviews faster that way, but if you're cool with the standard, what we're doing now, we'll keep it that way. And we can review or go back to that idea later on in the future. We can flesh that out together with you guys. So
Yeah. It's definitely an idea we want to at least test trial to kind of see how it would look just on in video form, right? Um, and if you do like the idea and you see a tape and you're like, I would love to still get a full episode of this. If we get enough feedback from from that short or whatever, we can still end up doing a full episode if it came down to that. Even if it's like a short episode, like a 30, 45-minute episode versus, a full hour, what we normally do. But yeah, it's definitely something we want to test trial for sure. But yes, like Mike said, there's no possible way we're reviewing every project. It's not possible. Uh yeah. So we appreciate that energy though. That's a fact. We do appreciate that energy.
yes, sir. All right.
Uh before you do that, I think we had other questions from October 2nd.
Let
Yeah.
me let me double check.
Uh I
I know
have
I
it if you
screenshotted
if
some.
you
Actually, go ahead.
yeah, I think it's from Santiago too though. Uh I think so, but don't quote me. But the question was, it did say, Mike, how has CH influenced your music, and then how has CH influenced my writing?
Okay, I see it now. I do have
Yep.
it screenshot it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Like I said before, with him influencing my music, um, I never wanted to actual sample or make beats before Charles. So he's helped in that aspect, the way he puts certain words together. Even sometimes the freestyle and stuff, whatever. I've always freestyled before, but I'm like, you know what? I want to make sure that my freestyle game is on point too, because let's say, for example, I'm not the biggest styler. I know how to freestyle.
Hmm.
I was already doing that before Charles, but the thing that influenced me the most with freestyling is, of course, Charles would hear, oh man, go back to writing, go back to this, go back to that.
Hmm.
When he actually got signed to Republic and then they had to make him freestyle for real, effortlessly.
Yep.
It's one of those things. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So in my situation, I'm like, yo, I want to get to a point where like, I don't care if it's an off day, like a Wednesday, and that's not me trying to rhyme. Like just literally it could be whatever day and time.
Look at you.
So
You can't, hey,
literally,
you can't even help it. You
yeah.
can't turn it off.
So there you go. Here's the influence right here. But seriously, I'm seriously not even trying to. Like, I usually be smirking when I actually do it on purpose, but I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, but seriously, like that's one of those things where I'm like, yo, it's admirable. So I'm like, yo, I want to make sure, my freestyle game is to a level where I don't want to be the best at it. I just want to make sure that I can coast when I do it. You know what I mean? Do it
Yeah.
effortlessly. So
Yeah. As far as me and writing goes, it's interesting because like I feel like it's not necessarily the writing itself. Like I will take like certain like not rhyme schemes, but the way he would flow on certain things. But it's really just the overall style. So like I'm more all my rhyming is like melodic. Like all my poetry is like melodic. So like everything's made to a beat. So I'll find the beat first and then I'll try to craft the words around that beat. And that's how almost all my poetry has ever been created, right? But then also just the naming conventions. If you go through any of the collections that I have, well, not any of them, most of them, not the Cowboy Bebop one. All the other ones you can tell by the way I name things that they're definitely Charles Hamilton influence. because they'll be important to me and I know what they mean, but it has somebody has to either ask me or decipher what it is through the lines, right? So I think those are the main things that uh Charles influenced with my writing and just as far as like naming and then, the style of how I write.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
man. All right.
Yeah,
Go.
so now we got the Charles questions.
Well, we had our own questions for ourselves.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, that's right.
Got you. I know we can make those quick, and then I'll ask and answer the Charles ones for you guys. So
Yeah.
just hey, they're coming. They're coming. Save
Yeah.
the best for
Stick
last.
stick
Come on.
stick around. We never buried the lead.
Stick around.
Oh, you see what I did, man? Yeah.
54.
Yeah, hey,
All right.
Um
So let me ask mine for you first.
sure.
So just so you guys get to know Stick a little better, you know what I mean? So he might stick on to you, so
Hey, yo,
no,
what?
you're sticking on to them, not to me. You
I
can
don't all Ayo, bro, but it's fine.
no, but all right, so here are my questions I have for you. I'll ask them one by one.
Mm.
So of course you said that you've done the podcasting thing. You have Two Tall Boys with King, also Clueless Vino, and you have this StarCHaser Central. How has it been for you trying to grow and maintain multiple podcasts at once? Feel free to explain your process.
It's been okay, mainly because for most of the time that I've been doing it, it's really just been two. Uh, I took off from doing Clueless Vino when my second son was born. So it's been off production for like a year and a half or whatever. 2 years really. So I've really just been focused on Star Trek Central and Two Tall Boys. It's relatively easy. I feel like I'll say this. It's easier to do this one because I feel like you're a little bit more engaged with like doing social media stuff. So I think that's really been a help for me as far as just trying to, get it out there and build it. And really, honestly, you do most of the work anyway to me as far as like social media stuff and just pushing stuff or whatever. I'm just really just the crafter and the editor and stuff like that. Um, so growing this one has been fun to do. I'll say that. But then just I did start doing episodes for Clues Vino over the summer. So juggling all three was kind of a stressful thing because now I'm back to using an actual video camera in studio. And those files are large, but I also had somebody helping me with editing them. But then that person's also kind of dragging just a little bit, not much. It's just been, life stuff. So for the most part, I would like them all to be kind of level on the same balance, but it's I'm still working out the kinks as far as that goes. And I may or may not have started another one. So so it's not I'm not making it easier on myself.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
But what I will ask to make it easy on yourself, describe your first year working with StarChaser Central. How's the first year been for you doing this podcast?
I've had a blast, bro. It's been real fun. I like I said, with all of my podcasts, really, I enjoy coming in and talking about stuff. But I like this a little bit more because it's a little bit more focused and it's just a different energy as far as like what I have to bring. Because with Clueless Vino, I feel like a host and I'm just like bouncing off of what you call it. With Two Tall Boys, it's a banter, which is cool. I like that too. But what we do here, it's like a discussion, right? It's we're taking because it's definitely two different opinions for sure. Because there's no guarantee we're gonna have the same opinion on a tape, and that's what kind of makes this fun. And so that's been my favorite part so far as doing this. It's just that every week is something different. Like there's no I'd never know what you're gonna say because we really don't talk like that outside of what's called. We'll chat, but rarely chat about our feelings about the tape.
Makes sense. Dope, dope.
Yeah.
Last question. What have been the positives of this podcast for you, and what have been the I don't want to say negatives, but let's call them challenges for this podcast for you? What have been the positives and challenges for you?
Positives, like I said, is I like the fact this is a niche podcast, right? I like that it's so focused. I don't have to think about anything else, right? I don't have to like with Two Tall Boys again. There's like we go through like 8 to 10 subjects a week, so it's like I can talk about certain subjects for a small amount of time, but I might have more to say, so I can't. And then Clueless Vino, it just depends on who I'm talking to, what their interests are, what their hobbies are. With this, I know exactly what we're going to talk about every week, and it's easier that way. I feel even when I don't feel up to par, or I feel like I'm just like I don't know if I'm feeling it today, or if I feel like sick or something. I can still get through it because I know what I'm about to talk about, right? Um, I would say my main challenge has been, and helped me you help me understand it more, is that we are a niche podcast. My problem is I always think about how we can make things bigger. And like, so I'll tell you like, oh, I think we should do this. And you'd be like, we're a niche podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to overdo it. Don't try to overthink it. Just continue on the path we're on. But like, I can't turn that thing off in my head. It's always there. It's like, yeah, but you could probably do this and da 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 da, right? So I would say that's probably the main thing I have to go through is don't fuck up a thing that's working, basically.
No, understandable. One thing I will say, because Charles, when I was talking to him a couple of days ago, you know how we always talk about how on Twitter it's stars CH Central.
Mhm.
Oh, so I was talking to him about that. He's like, a way you guys could have spelled it. You know how he does for the talented Mr. Hamilton on his Instagram. He's like, you
Uh-huh.
guys could have did that with Stars Chaser Central.
Taking
And I
all
was
the
like,
vowels out.
yeah, and I was like, yeah, but that's going to make it a lot harder for people to find us. And Charles is like, yeah, well, here's the thing for Charles, right? He's
Hmm.
like, yeah, he's like, my thing is this: I want my Star Chasers to find me. They're going to find me how they find me. And I'm like, Charles, that's dope. That works for you.
Hmm.
But for a podcast that is trying to showcase you, that doesn't work for us.
Right.
So think about his mindset, where like when I tell you it's a niche podcast, because I'm literally thinking about how Charles thinks. Like I don't do it to be a dickhead, like, oh, your idea is stupid. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, bro, like, because the thing is, of course, we don't want the wrong people coming across it and being like, oh, this doesn't remind me of Charles, this sucks or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
we're definitely trying to keep those people away from our product. But at the same time, it's just like I already know how Charles is, so it's just like he's already like putting a bubble and a shadow around people like that. So it's like I want to bring some more people in that might like it, but at the same time, it's like, hey man, the people are going to find us that's supposed to find us. So,
Mhm.
well, those are my questions. So,
All right. And I had a question for you so that people can get to know you better as well. As stated before, this is your first year of podcasting. Um, so I would like you to reflect on, your first year, what's been your favorite part, and maybe some of the challenges that you've worked through and are maybe still working through.
okay, so first year of podcasting, uh, very interesting to say the least. I know I told you before you even asked me about the whole podcasting thing. Like I've had people talk to me about, you have a voice for radio, or you sound like you should have a podcast or something like that. Like I've heard that for like a couple of years, and I'm like, maybe they're right. So when you actually ask me, I'm like, yeah, I think I should do this. And also, we're talking about something I'm knowledgeable in. So I'm like, this is easy. Because
Mhm.
if I was to do something like Two Tall Boys, it'd be a little different for me. Where I'm like, I don't really want to talk about this, but I want to talk about that. So
Mhm.
it helps that where I'm starting off, uh, I guess you say small. I'm starting off with something that like I'm passionate about.
Mhm.
Positives, or favorite part about it, I would say one, getting to talk about something I'm passionate about, something that, I have so much knowledge in. Like, it's one of those things I talk about all the time. Like, being such a fan for a long time, it's like sometimes I would feel like the knowledge would go to waste because I'm like, I want to talk about this with people, but either people aren't going to care or they're not going to know. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I get to share my wisdom and knowledge and history of Charles Hamilton music moments and everything in between, literally. Um, Challenges. I would say just coming across on camera or just dealing with just podcasting. Like I'm of course my biggest critic. So I'm like, man, did I say that right? Did I stumble over these words? Could I have said more? Did I say enough? Did I enunciate, whatever?
Mhm.
So that's been my biggest challenge, like learning to relax. Cause it's like, man, like people aren't really realizing as much as I do. When I'm listening back to our recordings, I'm like, oh man, I should have said this, or man, I blanked or whatever. When we first started this, I was doing the Charles Hamilton approach, just freestyling and like not writing the stuff down. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that doesn't work for me. Let me write my notes down so I have something to go off of. And that's just what works for me. So just learn to be, I'm already comfortable on camera. You see it on Instagram and all that, but people don't see how many takes I do. So it's like just learning to be comfortable and not having to edit it. It's like, no, if I fuck up, guess what? I fucked up and you guys get to see it. So being more comfortable with myself, So I would say that.
Yeah. You could definitely see it from if you look at the first 5 episodes and then you look beyond, you can see the progression as things went on, how you got a little bit more comfortable with stuff.
Definitely.
Um, this one is just like personal because I saw that recently you did do a TikTok saying that you've lost 20 pounds, which shout out to you. That's not an easy thing to do, first off. I've done that before and it's a grind. Um, But I wanted you, just personally for me, share your weight loss journey. As someone who has been on and off one myself, I like to hear other people's and like what their motivation was. And I was wondering, because for me, I know I did, I would look back on podcast stuff and be like, yo, my face looks different. And then I would go on a binge, not a binge, but like a binge of dieting. So I just want to know if I wanted to binge volume 4. If you wanted to,
Stick Racks was last episode. I was just
yeah.
about to say that.
I wanted you to let me know if that was maybe a motivation as well.
So for me, I know I said this like when we got to the beginning of this year. I
Mhm.
remember like I didn't talk about like stuff I was going through, but just a lot of BS I was going through. And I know I'd say, yeah, this year didn't start off great, whatever, but I'm hanging in there, just trying to, whatever.
Yeah.
So my thing was this. Of course, I go out like every weekend. It's one of those things where it's like, bro, like me going out every weekend and you say you want to watch your weight, it's like kind of hard to do when you're drinking like 4 to 5 drinks. You can eat as well as you want to, but guess what? Those drinks you have are like 200 to 300 calories. So I'm like, man, I want to be in better shape, but how do I do that? And
Mhm.
I had to just get it together, man. Like I had to stop playing games, kind of look at myself in the mirror and be like, yo, you got to make a change. You know what I mean? If you don't make a change, a change is going to make you. Not trying to be funny. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. So during the summer, I didn't drink for like 2 months. So legit, like I would still go out, but I'd have like diet soda.
Yeah.
And people say it all the time, but literally, if you stay in a calorie deficit, if you, start to work out, if you, get your steps in, it makes it so much easier. So for example, like even like not trying to do the Celsius thing, but like this can is literally only 10 calories.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like, oh, you could have da da da. You're drinking water, of course, drinking diet soda or just sugar-free sodas or whatever. It's 0 calories, 5 calories. That doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, after like I went back to drinking, I'm like, okay, I gotta be more knowledgeable of what I'm gonna drink. So I'm not gonna get the high sugary stuff. I'm gonna get like a diet soda and something else. So it's like
Yep.
instead of these drinks being like 1,000 calories, it might have been like only 400 calories. You know what I mean? Picking where I'm eating, also getting enough protein because I'm like, oh, all the stuff I was eating, like I'm still not hitting like the protein goal you're supposed to hit. So it's
Yeah.
like eating better, making better choices. And I realized you, if anything, just substitute what you're eating. Like I normally get like a sausage, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich or whatever. I was like, okay, get a turkey sausage, egg, and cheese. Where it's like
Mhm.
this one was like 561 calories. This one was 300 calories. And it's like, oh man, like, well, now I'm eating less. Guess what? You can have two of those sandwiches. Now you're at 600. So
Yep.
technically, if you just swap certain things, you could eat even more and still lose weight. So it's just gotta
Yeah.
take care of yourself. So for me, when I started seeing the results and seeing, oh, I can actually still do all the stuff I want to do, just swap certain things. It's like this is a lot easier than I thought. And
Mhm.
it seems like it's not, but it's actually easier than you think. But you have to have that determination. You see the results. It makes it so much better. And also, people started recognizing it. I had people at my job, have you been going to the gym or you look like you've been doing this and that, whatever? Oh, and I'm like, fuck yeah, this feels good. I'm like, hell
Yeah.
yeah. So that's been my whole thing. So it's a, and also it's nice to motivate people because believe it or not, with the Celsius thing, bro, people at my job started drinking them. I'm like, bro, I literally just started drinking these for like just because of low calorie. That's it. Like
Hmm.
not no sponsorship bullshit, none of that. I'm
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
no, but seriously, I was literally just started doing stuff like that. And people are like, oh well, I see you doing this all the time. I'm like, because I'm sticking to the schedule, I'm sticking to the game plan. That's
Yeah.
literally why. So just makes it easier, man. So
That's what's up, man. I'll say that last question for later, to end the pod. But yeah, let's get some Charles questions answered.
yes, sir. All right. So you guys had asked some Charles questions, and I got the answers. Don't call me Sway because I got the answers. All
Houseway.
right. So here we go. We had someone ask about you cited Incubus and Steely Dan amongst your favorite bands. You also sample a wide range of alternative music like Korn, Smashing Pumpkins, System of a Down, Linkin Park. Um, do you like other acts from those respective scenes like new metal, funk, jazz? Let me go to the answers and answer that. This is what Charles said. His favorite bands, as you know, are Korn and Incubus. He also loves Red Hot Chili Peppers, Modest Mouse, Franz Ferdinand, The Killers, NERD, Tool, Alice in Chains, some Linkin Park, the Alan Parsons Project, Radiohead. I can go on for a while. So there's a lot, but that's who we chose to name.
Nice.
So second question. Talk about jazz. Jazz greats, the Godfather of Soul. What draws you to them? Childhood, culture, you were always an old soul. Why not a more contemporary or modern variant of jazz and soul? Charles said, jazz and soul legends were never truly free. They sang and played to the maximum of their ability, but it wasn't their personal preference, the song. I sampled them to celebrate freedom and to liberate their souls through my pain, as expressed through the lyrics, sound of the production. Uh, I feel like some people have asked this question before, but it's still a good question. What does it mean to be truly goth? With this one, Charles said, the shit about me being a goth is I know God exists, but to acknowledge God is to acknowledge Satan. So the war for my soul continues. As I stand there, I represent every goth in the subculture. Someone basically asked Charles, like, what's his favorite project of his own?
Hmm.
We got an actual pretty lengthy one. Most of us know it's My Brain is Alive, but
Yep.
this is what y'all said. My favorite project of my own is between My Brain is Alive and STH Zero. With my
Okay.
brain, with My Brain is Alive, I felt a challenge to make modern Pink Lava Lamp of that time. In a short amount of time, barely 2 days, like 48 hours after Awkward. STH Zero was also a challenge because I was describing being in literal doom and still representing Sonic and Sega without writing, all experience. Next question. Someone asked, what is Charles's current sound? How would you describe the current sound of your music?
Hmm.
My current sound is Justice meets Beat Butcher. And then last question I have is they asked him what's Charles's favorite Sonic music or Sonic sound, whatever.
Yeah.
Sonic 2. Answer is Sonic 2. So
The answer's always Sonic too.
what's the meaning of life? Sonic 2.
Yep.
Literally. Now, real quick, for any questions that I didn't get Charles to answer, I know, uh, Charles, what would be your go-to song or sound that you would play for someone to get into your music? I'll see if he'll answer that here. Let me see what else. Someone asked, have you ever scrapped bars because they were too far or too deep, or they just wouldn't be misunderstood? Has the free flow style been more of a blessing or a curse for you? And also someone asked, have you ever sampled Elliott Smith slash do you listen to him? So Charles, I didn't get him the answer at that time, but if he sees this, feel free to answer those down below. So
Nice. Always good to get Charles's, answers on certain things. I know a lot of people had a lot of questions in there. Some I feel like he's answered before, but it's good to always hear um his thoughts. Interesting about the his favorite albums though. My Brain is Live we kind of knew, but STH Zero is interesting.
Yeah, I think normally like if he has to just answer just like one album or project, I normally he does say my brain's alive, but
Hmm.
it's good to know there's something else.
48 hours though is crazy.
2 days.
That's kind of nuts. I think is that the last one we have to do for the no, my brain is live is a Hamiltonization process. That's 2009.
Yeah, that was after.
Have we
So
done all the Hamiltonization process ones? Are we missing one?
I think we're missing one, maybe two, maybe. But we're definitely we haven't done them all yet.
Yeah, that's weird. Um, oh yeah, to close out, I wanted to ask this final question, and this is basically to you, but also the people in the comments, man. Let us know your answer to this question. But what's been your favorite episode, moment, or tape that has surprised you thus far in our 1 year?
I would say favorite. So I'll do all three technically. Like favorite episode or moment. Um, Honestly, favorite episodes and moments are usually like obviously I love doing those like random intros and not telling you just because it makes everything more exciting. And of course,
Mhm.
when I get the feedback from everybody and they're just like, "Oh my God, that was hilarious, that was funny," whatever the case is, just they get a pop out of people.
Mhm.
Um, I would say favorite episode, anything where I know you're going to be excited about from like Jump Street. Like for example,
Mhm.
I remember when we were trying to get guests on, and whoever the guest was, and they said, "Yeah, I want to review 10 things." Me and
Yeah.
you already knew. We already know how we feel about 10 things. This is going to be a really good episode. So those
Yeah.
are like my favorite episodes, you know. Um, just when we both know we already heard it and we kind of already know what we're going to give it, but at the same time, it's still we still get giddy about it. There's some I do want to give a quick shout out to the episodes where neither of us know the tape. It'll be something newer, and then we both have to kind of put our brains together and be like, okay, so we never heard this, but we have to kind of like, this is how I feel about it. This is how I feel about it, and you know, we expand our horizon, you know. But favorite, technically, favorite tape, not favorite, but tape that surprised me so far was what was it? We reviewed a while ago because I gave it a supersonic, and I was surprised by it. Cat's Can. I'd say, you know,
Mhm.
that's the one that surprised me because I remember hearing it before in the past, and I remember being like, it's okay. And then hearing it again, I'm like, yeah, I'm confident with giving this a supersonic. I'm very confident because it is one of those tapes where I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, but then I was like, I know exactly how I feel about it. And that's my favorite thing, like going back to tapes and giving it a better score than I thought. Because I'm like, yeah, definitely. So what about you though? What were your favorite moments, you know, episodes and tapes and all that?
Yeah, I'm also a fan of your silly little stupid ass intros. Uh, because they again, you never tell me. But there are times when I know bullshit's coming just based off what you wear, and I'm like, oh my God. And then like it's just a setup of how you do it. Like there was the stupid the trial of Charles Hamilton. I was like, dog, what are we doing? But then it's fun because then I can just play off of it later. You keep putting that Celsius shit on the front. That's my other favorite gag is the dumb Celsius thing. Um, because you keep doing that and it's annoying me now.
You literally didn't have to say anything, and you get it. They don't know because the camera's on you, or it's on me now. But
Right. But the gag is funny though because like the drink in the windowsill is the thing that I picked out earlier. Early in the thing. Like there's always something there. So that was always fun. Um yeah, I just enjoy coming in and just seeing what type of bullshit one of us will end up saying. Um because there's gonna be one of us at some point. Um and then
probably me.
I huh?
Probably me.
Probably, and I'm just gonna react to it in the way I react. Uh I think my most surprising tapes thus far is probably Feel the Reaper because I know I had listened to a Reaper tape before and I was like, oh, this is cool, but I wasn't like, I want to finish the rest of them. But then I heard this and I was like, oh no, this is really good music here. Like a lot of it, right? So I would say that or maybe like the Winter Rush stuff. The Winter Rush episode was also one of my favorites because I probably wouldn't have listened to both of those right away, but then listening to both and then loving both was just it was a great surprise to me. So probably those two would be my favorites thus far.
Nice, nice. And it was we haven't done that in a while, but it was fun doing like the double episode, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like sometimes it's like, can we can we fit both tapes in one episode? And it's like, yeah, in a lot of situations we can, but we just don't really have a reason to do it now until like
Yeah.
another situation like that pops up. So,
Oh, and the March Madness tournament was fun. I had a blast doing that too.
oh yeah, can't forget that. That
Yeah,
was
that
definitely
was yeah, that was a good fun. And I definitely want to do that again next year with something else. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, we made it to a year, man. I'm trying to figure out what I was gonna ask. Oh, do you have any uh goals for the next year?
just keep going. Honestly, just make it short, simple, and sweet. Just be able to keep going. So, we pride ourselves on being able to have an episode out every week. I want to be able to for us to keep doing that. I mean, if something happens and we have to skip a week, I'm okay with that. At the same time, just like we're able to maintain this level and keep the fan base growing and also keep this positive rapport with Charles. So it's always cool just to hear from Charles, hear his personal opinion, hear the StarCHaser say, "Oh, well, this is what I like from the tape. This is what I wasn't really feeling as much," and just keep the conversation going because it's really fun compared to when you're in a room full of Charles Hamilton fans and they just say, "Oh yeah, I like the music," but then we're not talking about Charles Hamilton music. We're just talking about anything else. So
Mhm.
this community is really awesome. I can tell you that.
Yeah. I'm very glad that during that podcast we did for Clues Vino that I didn't let that thought in my mind fleet away. Like, oh, you should ask Mike to do the podcast because we were talking that because that podcast was long. That was a very long episode, and I just remember it was like probably like 45 minutes in. I was like, I should probably just ask him to do the podcast. That seems like a good idea. And then I had to wait for another hour for us to stop talking to remember to be like, let me just write this down just in case I forget. So glad I remembered that. Appreciate you, man, for this great year that we've had thus far, and hopefully we can do it for another year, man.
Yeah, totally. I think we can. I know we can.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to continue to support the journey of the Star Chaser Central, be sure to follow us, subscribe on YouTube, Star Chaser Central. You can also follow us on Twitter, Star CH Central. Uh, Follow us on our individual pages, man. I'm at Stick Around 54 on Instagram and Twitter, STIK around 54. Mike, where can they find you, buddy?
On Instagram, the Mike Jackson, Mike Jackson. On Twitter, Mike D Jackson, Mike D Jackson. That's one D, two E's. I don't even know why I feel like I have to say that, but there could be some people typing in Mike B. I'm like, that's not even, no, that's not. So
I mean,
anyway,
makes sense.
yeah. Just make sure you guys are following Charles Hampton on Twitter at Charles Hampton. Make sure you're subscribed to him on YouTube at the talented Mr. Hamilton. And make sure you guys are tuned in with the blog. I know the last episode for Mastery. You guys probably haven't seen Charles comment on there. Obviously he's had his situation with his Wi-Fi and whatnot, but he has been very active on his blog. So if you don't see him say anything in the comments, make sure you check out the blog, enterthehamilton.blogspot.com, where he might answer some things like that. And, just, keep it cordial, keep it pushing. You know what I mean? So there it is.
Yeah, man. Again, we can't do none of this without you guys. We appreciate all the comments. We appreciate all the suggestions. We appreciate everything that you guys have done for us over the past year. Uh, Continue to send us what you want us to listen to, man. I know we said some tapes that maybe we were like, we didn't feel at the time, but we are very gung ho about reviewing as much Charles Hamilton music as we can. So if we have to revisit those tapes, we'll gladly do it. Will our minds change? You'll have to wait and see, man. That's what the journey's about. Be sure to let us know any specials you want us to do. That is one thing I want to do over the next year. One thing we didn't get to do this year too is like more Charles Hamilton discussion episodes versus the music. So like some of the downfalls that he's had. I still want to do the review of the movie, the documentary. So stuff like that I still want to do 'cause I feel like there's some important stuff there as well. But just let us know and continue to rock with us, man. We appreciate you. We appreciate Charles. for rocking with us because that also could have went wrong. He could have been like, "What are these two guys doing? They know nothing." But he's been very supportive, so appreciate to you. Salute to you, sir. Mike, you have anything for the people before we head out?
Um, Other than stay tuned, make sure you guys keep supporting, and we appreciate you. Charles did tell me, he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm waiting to see more moments from you guys because you guys say music moments and everything in between." I'm like, well, on certain projects, if we don't know too much about it, we can't talk about the moments because they're obscure. But I'm like, for the ones that are more visible, we'll definitely make sure the moments are broadcasted. You know what I mean? So, but other than that, just keep supporting us, y'all. We appreciate it. Seriously. 1 year down, many more to go, and many more tapes to review. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. Hold on. We're now logging out of StarCHaser Central, man, where we always encourage you to follow your dreams.
And reach for the stars.
If no one understands me, then lie and say that you do. I can make it the truth. To buy it, save it, and use it to live. We all know I need music to live, but the beauty of it is you too can move your fist in the fight, right? All you gotta do is right. And if at all possible, we gotta move the light, make it shine where we want it to, in front of you. I've been watching the stars since the days I wasn't under rules. The stars in the sky, the stars in the screen. A part of me believes I have a heart that doesn't beat. It's acapella, my mind provides the drums, and I don't mind the dumb, cause they mind gotta be numb to not feel what I'm bringing. I might stop if when I dream I can't see what the night's got, and I just hit the right spot. You like that, then come watch. You can be my star, this is night. Don't be afraid of how fast we go. See it's far.